I guess after 1 or 2 days, I kept looking at oatmeal, looked like 3 times a day. And that's when I talked to the administration at Tuskegee and said, we got to feed the marchers. We got to feed the freedom walkers.
Feeding freedom.
Next on Black Nouveau.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of Black Nouveau. I'm Milton Dockery.
And I'm Faithe Colas. We're glad you could join us. This week, we'll hear from Emmy Award winner Adrienne Danrich, whose new show, An Evening in the Harlem Renaissance, opens this week at the Next Act Theater.
We'll preview some upcoming specials that remind us of the golden days of Motown and Soul Train. And we'll profile Racine's mother, Louise Hunter, of the Love and Charity Mission.
But first, we begin with Feeding Freedom, a new documentary by independent filmmaker Greg Morrison. The half-hour program looks at some of the places where civil rights workers gathered for food, conversation, nourishment, and strength. And one of those places was right here in Milwaukee.
The struggle was not limited to southern communities where segregation was enforced by power of law. Northern cities were segregated by custom, something that wasn't playing well with a generation of restless young blacks in those communities. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, an industrial bastion, found itself in a year-long protest triggered by a demand for open housing. Black and white communities there were defined by the 16th Street Bridge.
We referred to it as the Mason-Dixon line. The whites lived on the south side, African Americans lived on the north side. It was said that African Americans had no business being on the south side, period, especially after dark. So we thought, you're poor, we're poor. Never saw this as an issue of really poor people fighting poor people, but because they were white, they felt that they were superior to the poor blacks.
Prentice McKinney found himself drawn into the civil rights struggle after a white priest, Father James Groppy, moved into a predominantly black neighborhood and began advocating for change. McKinney was a member of the NAACP Youth Commandos.
We had demonstrations anywhere from in the thousands to as small as, I think the first time we went across the bridge, there was maybe 20 of us. Our job was to be in between the police department and the marchers. And the police's job was to be in between the commandos and the counter-demonstrators. When the conflict went on, it generally went on in between those lines. It went on between us and the police and us and the counter-demonstrators. Our job was to keep the marchers safe, and that's what we tried to do.
18 years old at the time, McKinney and other youth commandos found themselves not only on the front lines of the battle, but treated as equal members of the movement. That status, combined with a degree of bravado, earned him access to a local club where a cross-section of people routinely came together.
It's now called Savoy's. It was originally, back in those days, called Torans Tropical Hut. We referred to it as Torans. This was the place where the north side, east side, south side, west side all came together, those people that were involved in civil rights. It was more or less a neutral kind of place. We'd march, we'd come together down here over some burgers, some shrimp. The place was known for shrimp. Have a couple drinks, kick it around. The supporters from the Jewish community on the east side of town who wanted to be supportive of the movement but didn't want to be out front because they didn't want the kickback from the, so they'd slide in here and we'd converse, and we even had supporters from the south side of town, white people. We had suburbanites who didn't live in town but who came in town and marched. And so it was like a cauldron of all the people who were involved, either from a political standpoint. Val Phillips would be in here. From a community standpoint, Jim Groppy would be in here. The Jewish community, Ben Larkin would be in here. Those kinds of people would get together in here, mingle. It was also a place of interesting dialogue, I would say. I remember after leading marches on the South Side and being in the newspaper every day and in the police wagon every night.
That's a hell of a way to have your day.
Well, you know, somebody had to do it. I mean,
Ironically, McKinney now owns that club where he grew into maturity as an activist.
And we're joined now by Prentice McKinney, who you just saw in the film clip. Welcome to Black Nouveau, Prentice.
Thanks for having me.
You were one of the original NAACP youth commandos who marched with Father Grappy in the 60s.
Yes.
How did you get involved?
Well, there were a multitude of factors. Number one, during that time we had the draft. Number two, I was living in a segregated city. My parents were from the South. You were treated differently just because of the color of your skin, but yet you were going to be drafted to fight for this country and die for this country, only to come back here and be a second-class citizen. Father Grappy came to our neighborhood, him and the commandos, and they started marching. And they started marching for equality. And it sounded like something I needed to be involved in.
So what exactly did the commandos do?
The job of the commandos were to protect the marchers. We marched in various communities, including the South Side. There were generally hostile crowds. We were 18, 19 years old, a lot of us, some even younger. And so the commandos' job was protect those marchers from those hostile crowds.
So what was that experience like, protecting the marchers when you went to the South Side and had to deal with that level of resistance?
It was kind of like being black walking into a white riot. That was the intensity of it. There were bricks, bottles, cans, garbage thrown at you, police throwing tear gas on you when they're supposed to be there to protect you, doing hand-to-hand combat with the police department while you're fighting off demonstrators, or rioters, as we called them. Mm-hmm. Very intense, and it was 200 days of it. So they were not playing. We were going to remain second-class citizens. We were not playing. We were not going to be.
What was it like working with Father Grappy? Tell us a little bit about him and his level of leadership. He
was one of the most charismatic men I've ever met. He kind of reminded me of Muhammad Ali in a way. I mean, he could convince you to be nonviolent when you wanted to be violent. He was very charismatic, and many of us in the black community looked up to him as a substitute father.
Do you think he's received his due?
Absolutely not.
Why is that?
Because he happened to be white, and unfortunately there is reversal racial discrimination. He was a white man. We used to call him like a blue-eyed soul brother. He knew what we were going through because he was Italian. He had to go through it himself. He was a Catholic priest, so he had the moral obligation to do the right thing. And in his own community, he was hated because he stood up for us.
What did you take away from him? What did you learn from him?
Well, there are too many things to encompass in this.
Give me one good one.
That you can achieve anything if you believe in yourself. If you fight for a just cause, you can achieve it.
Let's talk a little bit about Milwaukee now compared to Milwaukee then. Do you think that the struggle, the movement, was good for Milwaukee? You think things are better now?
Well, on one level we say it's the same old, nothing's really changed. Milwaukee's still as segregated as one of the most segregated cities in the country as it was then.
Do you really feel that? You know, because you lived back then in the 60s and you're living now. Do you feel that?
I feel the racism. I mean, you know, back then they'd say, well, okay, you're a nigger. Today you're a Negro. Not much difference, same thing. In other ways, there are greater opportunities. I don't want to be totally negative. You know, I look and I say, as a result of some of the things that we went through, no matter how people depict African-American young people today, black people were able to help in electing a black president, okay? So are things the same? They are, but they aren't. Is there a need for change and continued struggle? Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we can go back to Harriet Tubman, Kunta Kinte, I mean, Roots, all of that. The struggle continues. Older people like myself, we've done what we could to bring us this far. Younger people today, it's their job to pick up the banner and say, we're going to bring about positive change. And I believe that's going to happen.
So you're ready to pass the baton.
Ready to pass it and keep on carrying it at the same time.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I was born to help people. It was already on the inside.
And for nearly 50 years, that's what Louise Hunter has done for homeless people in and around Racine. She has helped thousands get back on their feet, and they nicknamed her Mother Hunter.
I'm a mother to them. When somebody calls you mother, they feel close to you. I don't tell them to call me mother. And you know sometimes my children get jealous. Everybody call you mother and mama, and I say don't say a word.
Mother Hunter says her family didn't have a lot to give to others. While her husband supported her and their 21 children, a gift of a lifetime prompted her to start Love and Charity Mission in their home.
The main thing that God did for me is when the sheriff come to sit me out that night, and I didn't have anywhere to go. But the next morning, a stranger stopped by my door. He didn't even know me. I didn't even have Love and Charity. I was just seeking the Lord and taking care of my family. And he gave us a big house to live in. And then I said to the Lord, what can I do to help somebody? But with all the kids, what could I do? Oh, there's something to do. You can reach out and help others just by encouraging them.
Mother Hunter wakes up every morning before dawn to meditate before starting her day.
It's a joy in helping others. I don't even have a clock. I don't have no clock to wake me up. You know, like some people have to have a clock or work. No, it's just in me.
After meditation, she fires up the stove to cook a complete breakfast, and at 72 years old, she doesn't complain.
It's a joy for me to do that. I love doing that. This is my life.
She runs errands every day, picking up groceries and people.
I'm busy all day long. Somebody's got to do it.
In addition to food and shelter, Love and Charity Mission provides many other services, including support groups for drug and alcohol abuse and a Bible study.
We pushes two things in Love and Charity, and that is Jesus and education. Our young people and old people, such as me, must have an education to help them now.
One of Mother Hunter's sons says his life has been enriched by her shelter.
Growing up, it was, you had the advantages and the disadvantages. And the advantages was that I have seen so many teachers, lawyers, prosecutors, doctors, you know, came through the doors of Love and Charity, and they lost everything because they were addicted to some substance abuse. And so what I learned from them is to don't drink, don't do drugs, and they taught me a lot about education.
Have you seen the need increase or decrease the longer that you've been doing this? I mean, are you seeing more homeless people than you did?
Homeless, yes, I have. And it's because of the drug and the alcohol. I have saw them get their check, and the next day they don't have nothing and no place to live.
Do you ever take a break? Do you go on vacation?
No, not really. If I leave once a month. We have another shelter in Memphis, Tennessee, and I go down once a month, but I'm right into the work.
Mother Hunter's story has been featured in many national publications. She says she appreciates the attention and hopes it will encourage more people to support homeless shelters like Love and Charity Mission.
Do you ever see a time where a mission like this won't be necessary?
No, that will never be.
Why not?
It's always going to be missions needed for missions. There's so many homeless people. There's so many people need help.
King Drive is the future neighborhood on tomorrow's edition of Around the Corner with John McGibbon. Here's a preview.
Glorious Malone's fine sausage with the owner Daphne, and we're here right in front of where you make head cheese.
Head cheese.
So you grew up in this business?
I did, indeed.
Well, what is head cheese, really?
Well, it's a spicy pork product. It's a very different recipe throughout the world. It's really an international dish, but every country has its own recipe. You know, the Germans had theirs, and the South had theirs. And so my parents were from the South, and this is their southern rendition of it. And it has a different look, it has a different texture, it has a different feel. It's actually sexy.
It is.
Ultimate goal is to take it global and get it where no head cheese has gone before.
This is the mild. It is good. You did good.
Oh, thank you.
You know that? It's really Glorious Malone's. Try it. We are in the corner of 6th and Halyard. We're on the patio of the home of Mr. Brooks. How are you, sir? Let's talk about this neighborhood. I know that you're quite influential in getting this neighborhood started and built and going. And let's talk about the history of this neighborhood, Halyard Park.
It was a blighted section of the city. The property values were down so low until most of the owners moved out. I convinced the mayor that he wasn't going to have no job if the property values keep going down.
Yeah.
So I told the Department of City Development I was no gambler. I didn't have money to gamble on. I would do the subdivision if I could do it my way.
And how many housing units are in this subdivision?
I have 43 here now.
43?
Yes.
Yeah. And yours is like the anchor, right?
I built the first one.
You did. And you've lived here since?
Ever since.
The program airs Thursday, March 1st at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 10.
For those fans of Motown and the late Don Cornelius's Soul Train, MPTV's membership drive has some special programs of interest.
800,000 people came to see her. And when rain stopped the show, Diana Ross was back the next day. It's the legendary 1983 concert from one of the greatest artists of all time. You turn me inside out. Diana Ross, for one and for all.
The Best of Soul Train, featuring the very best acts from the legendary Soul Train series.
Lean on me, enough big old life, baby.
We should have been a duo.
Let's get it on, baby.
But there's nothing like good old Joshua and the Battle of Jericho. Up to the walls of Jericho, they marched with the spear in hand. Go below them, ramparts, Joshua cried, 'cause the battle am in my hand. Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, and the walls come tumbling down. Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fit the battle of Jericho, and the walls come tumbling down.
That's an excerpt from Adrienne Danrich's This Little Light of Mine. And we're pleased to welcome the Emmy Award-winning performer back to Black Nouveau. Ms. Danrich, welcome back to Black Nouveau, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Adrienne, first and foremost, congratulations on winning the Emmy Award for the outstanding talent in This Little Light of Mine.
Thank you.
Is that your first Emmy?
It is.
Well, congratulations
And you say
again.
first because I want some more.
All righty, all righty. Well, definitely not the last with your talent.
Yeah.
Are you still doing live performances of This Little Light of Mine?
I
I am. I just recently came back from Cape Cod, doing a show there. It was actually the celebration of the Cape Cod Symphony and the Cape Cod Community College, their 50th year.
Oh, wow. Any more scheduled other than that one?
Not as of yet. We have some on hold, but until I get a contract, I don't want to talk about that.
All right. Well, now for your new project, An Evening in the Harlem Renaissance.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, I got a commission from Indiana University, Pennsylvania. And the show actually started out as a show simply about Langston Hughes originally, and then it morphed into a show about the entire era of the Harlem Renaissance.
Now, just what is a commission for me and the viewing audience?
Commission is when a specific entity, whether it's a university or a theater or a consortium, meaning a lot of people coming together, and they basically give you money and funding to write a show or a book or whatever. So I was asked to do this, to create this show.
So it starts out looking at Langston Hughes. It's obvious it grows bigger.
Yes.
Why?
Well, when I've loved Langston Hughes since I was in high school. I mean, he has been a love of mine since then. And I've always wanted to create a show about him and also have songs written specifically for me, for my voice, using Langston Hughes text. So the idea was already in my head. I met a gentleman by the name of Drew Heminger. He's a composer. And I met him in Ohio. And his music at this concert was featuring a string quartet that he had written. And his music was American music. And I was like, this is somebody we need to work with for my Langston Hughes show. So he and I started to collaborate, and I contacted the Langston Hughes estate. You have to get permission to do these things. And originally I got permission to do the show. I've written 9 scenes from that show, the Langston Hughes show, but then unfortunately the Hughes estate sold exclusive rights to produce a musical on the life of Langston Hughes. So therefore my show hopefully will not be put on the shelf forever, but I had to shelve it for it. So, but I still have the commission. So I had to create a show. So I expanded it to include all of the Harlem Renaissance.
Briefly, tell me a little bit about the show and how it's different from This Little Light of Mine.
Well, the show is different. Well, there are many more similarities than there are differences. I still call this show a live documentary, just as I do with This So Light of Mine, because I show pictures of the different personalities, poets and writers and artists from that era. I also talk about a little bit about the history, obviously, and This So Light of Mine had a lot more talking in it. This I wanted to be a musical celebration of the era. So I have a lot more songs. This So Light of Mine has 12 songs. I have 26 songs. 26 songs in this program.
Now, you're here in Milwaukee because you're involved with the students at UWM. How did you get involved with students at UWM?
Well, to back up for 2 seconds, when I received the commission from Indiana University, Pennsylvania, they asked me as a part of the commission to include their students and their faculty in the program. And so that is how I'm basically marketing the show now, to include other students, because part of the value is obviously when you are in a learning situation, it's great to be able to perform on a professional show. I just did my first, I premiered the show in February 2011, and then I just did it with my alma mater, Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music there, and I had students and faculty from there. We just did that this fall. And then we're back here with UWM and including their students, and also Will Johnson, who is a guest artist who lives in the Milwaukee area.
In about 20 seconds, tell me some of the things you're doing with the students.
Well, yesterday we had a master class. Tomorrow we're having another master class. I just did a lecture this morning about the era and about the racial tension that was happening at the time. And we're just working on their performance that's coming up this Saturday.
Now, Adrienne, in about 30 seconds, what do you want the audience to take from this performance?
I would love the audience to take away the fact that even though that there was a lot of racial strife happening in the Harlem Renaissance, Black people found a way to really celebrate and embrace the culture their culture and they found a voice that they can call their own. That's what I would like for people to take away from it.
Emmy Award-winning performer Adrienne Danrich, thank you for joining us on Black Nouveau, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Before we close tonight, a reminder that the Black Church Week of Prayer for the Healing of AIDS begins this Sunday, March 4th.
The kickoff event will be held at the New Covenant Baptist Church in Milwaukee.
And that wraps up this edition of Black Nouveau.
Remember, in the coming week, do something to expand your world. Good night.
Good night, and thanks for watching.